All right, let's cut to the crap. Let's talk about this. Likely, most of you have already heard, but today at a speaking engagement, Donald J. Trump was the victim of a pew pew attempt. The pew pew artist clipped his ear, missed any vital organs. Trump was rushed off stage by Secret Service. The pew pew artist has assumed what I've heard is room temperature, and it is being investigated as an assassination attempt. Now, I recognize that there's a lot of emotions out there on several different levels, right and left, different perspectives of this event. But I'd like to ask one very simple question. Does assassination actually change the course of history? Now, it is my personal belief that in the American context, pew pew events don't really change anything in terms of an ideology or a movement, and it actually solidifies those witnessing the event to back the cause rather than support the individuals conducting the pew pew operation. One of the most famous, of course, is that of Abraham Lincoln. He was the victim of a pew pew event from a Southerner who opposed Abraham's vision of freeing slaves after the Civil War, amongst other things. But if you'll take a look at the electoral history after Abraham's demise, his party carried elections for almost 40 or 50 years after that whole event went down. So while you may have taken out the man, you didn't defeat the cause. And that is not the only example. Just a few years later, a man named McKinley was the result of a pew pew event. Did that change anything? No. The party he was a part of retained power. You got the rise of Teddy Roosevelt and the changes in the Navy and the national park system that are largely attributed to his name. That is not the only event. 40 or 50 years later, a man named Martin Luther King began to preach a message of racial equality in the face of some obvious disparities, in the face of Jim Crow, national electoral politics, wage paying, all these things. And he was taken out as a result of a pew pew event. Did it end the cause? Did it end the march? Did we not have the exact things he wanted codified not more than 14 years later? No, it didn't change anything. It might delay things by a few years. It might not be his voice you have to hear anymore. You might not see him sign the actual legislation. But in terms of changing things, no. And why? Because you're only taking out one man. It's not the individuals that back him. Because in terms of the American context, while you might take out that one figure, the people behind him will use that as a lightning rod, as a focus, will carry on their message, and will refuse to back down until everything that they believed in has been codified, solidified, and has become law. If you think taking out one man is going to change an entire ideology, you have much to learn, my son. I'll talk to you next time. We'll talk about another thing that I find interesting.